29 minutes past 11 o'clock East African Standard Time and 8 o'clock, 29 minutes past 8 o'clock, 9 minutes past 8 o'clock London time. Good evening, this is Dr. Matsanga bringing to you the show. The Friday, the last show of the year 2022, because after this, the next show from Punchline Africa Television will be a show of 2023. The whole of this year, we have been moving and progressing and progressing. Africa has progressed. We had misses and we have hit. We missed some things, but we hit some targets. This show seeks to ask questions. How far have you gone? How far are you about to go? And how far can you go? But the best question is, when will you achieve? And this is the show. That's why we call the tough questions. When will you achieve? You tell people programs. On the continent of Africa, achievements have become less, and the promises have become more. We have received more promises from leadership of African continent more than achievements. We have seen proclamations made more than practical examples on the ground. We have been involved in lots of diplomacy, going to US, now going to Russia. First, I want to say I was right. I told people here on this show, and my guest tonight, or my guest this morning, will agree with me. Elvis Wanda Wesonga from Nairobi, Kenya. My dear brother, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Masanga. I salute every viewer that we are having on board. I mean, on this very last show before we finally usher in 2023. So, good morning, Dr. David Masanga.
I was very right when I said, and I told you, that after United States of America, we shall switch on to Europe. We shall switch on to Russia. But let me go through the headlines on some of the African news as seen from the online news that I have got here, sent to me by the production team from Republic of Kenya. A warrant of arrest has been issued by the government of Botswana against the former president, Hama. I was attacked on a certain platform because I was telling the truth. I don't know whether this journalist from South Africa can now come up and ask me any more questions. A lady called Makonena, who hates people, who hates Africa, where yet she lives in an Orange Free State, a state that apartheid created for the Africans. Matsanga never lived in that type of state. Matsanga's home was protected because the colonialists found us organized. Uganda was protectorate. Uganda was not colonized. Rwanda was colonized. Zimbabwe was colonized, and South Africa was colonized, but my country was protected because we had already set up our own institutions, and the British colonizers could not tell us what to do, not to do, when to do it, how to do it. We said we shall do it our way. So all what they did was to protect us. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, this show here wants to go deep into those hidden angles, hidden questions being asked by very many Africans as we end the year. Have we achieved? How much have we achieved? When shall we achieve? Have we delivered? Tough questions, therefore. But before I do anything, I want to take this opportunity to pay my condolences to two icons that have gone and passed, gone to the angels for their final journey of judgment. One item in the African continent is a veteran broadcaster, Catherine Kasavuli. Madam, I listened to you when in exile, 78, 79, when you are still 80, vibrant. I listened to you when I came to Kenya again, when I was in government. I enjoyed your voice, your shows, 9 o'clock news on Voice of Kenya and the Kenya News Agency. You did a great job. You stood firm against all odds at the time when women were not allowed to take a proportion of what was supposed to be for all of us. You have done your stage. You created a stage. But a stage, as Shakespeare said, there comes a time when you come, you play, and go back. You leave for others to continue with the play. Most of you who have read the Shakespeare and Macbeth plays, like I have done, which I did in the early 70s, 73, 74, you find that the world is a stage where you come, play, and disappear. Go to the second route, which none of us knows how it looks like, except the dead person herself or himself. In this case, the Punchline Africa Television, the Pan-African Forum, wishes to take its opportunity, plus the staff members, and to pay their condolences to the fallen media guru, media veteran, the voice of the voices, of all the voices. We shall miss this voice of Catherine Kasavuli, the lady ever smiling while reading news. Even when Ouko was dead, the news sounded better in Kenya. It looked, you can say nothing, but here she is. She has come and read the news. She has given you hope that the killers will be found. Catherine, you have left a gap, but you have played your part. You have left a legacy. That's why we are talking about your legacy today. May your soul rest in peace. Eternal peace, eternal peace, eternal peace. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The second approach is the question of football. Not only did I love Pele, but I liked the Pan-Africanism, the stand. A man playing amongst the whites, single-handedly discriminated at times. Every responsibility relied on him. That back at home, if you don't deliver, you are vilified. The passing away of Pele in a hospital in Brazil brings great sadness. And all the British newspapers, I've seen all British newspapers, the picture of Pele on the front page. People who love football in this country have shown us that football is liked. The Guardian talks about Pele 1940 to 2022. It's a big half-naked picture there of Pele being carried by his countrymen when he won the World Cup. 1 in 10 Tory peers have given more than £100,000 to the party. The Independent goes on to talk about Pele, 1940 to 2022. But they talk about the mental health crisis is now parallel pandemic. Again, a picture of Pele. What a somber mood for the people of the world. The Daily Express of London says Pele, king of the beautiful game, dies aged 82. Indeed, Pele, you have gone, but you have left a legacy. Not only in Brazil, but to the entire world. The Daily Express also in London says no magic wand for pay rises. All those who are on strike don't expect any pay rise coming from Prime Minister Sunak because the Conservatives have failed to run this country. Time has come for us to have an election. When Labour Party will come back to our powers, then the Matangas will grow talking with real force wonder. We are waiting for government. We want to be back as senior advisors on African policy in the Labour government. Why should we be in the cold for a long time when we can give proper policies on Africa? I'm a member of the Labour Party since 1987. Permanent member, permanent and pensionable. My constituency is Croydon Central, which is in Surrey, which is a Labour constituency, not a very good constituency, which I would have won had I not supported Mr. Mugabe and his Zimbabwe. Yes, I want to say the truth here. And some of the idiots from these countries, they don't recognize the suffering that some of us have taken to defend and stand, to defend African countries, to lose our self-made journey. I would have been an MP in the House of Commons in London in 1998 when Tony Blair and Robin Cook, my boss, came into power. I would be there. I would be one of the first Africans to enter the parliament of Her Majesty the Queen, by then the late, elected on the Labour Party from Croydon Central, which was a majority constituency given to me. I'm a delegate of the Labour Party to the National Delegates Conference in the United Kingdom here. Yes, yes, I would have gone there. Look at what I lost. They don't give you credit. I defended Mugabe. I came up. You wait. 2023, I'm beginning to tell some people off to leave me alone. And it's not going to be an easy job. And be prepared, Wanda, that I will use the platform anywhere, whether here, whether where, I will tell people to leave me off. I've suffered enough for this continent called Africa. I defended Mugabe in a Labour Delegates Conference, stood up among his 25,000 delegates, opposed Mr. Tony Blair not to put sanctions on Zimbabwe. The late Shamarira, all the people, Mugabe, everywhere, wherever you are in the grave, you know very well that I did it freely. You never paid me a single coin. You know it. All of you. You know it. Mnangagwa, you know it. You have never given me a single coin to defend Zimbabwe. But this year, 2023, I'm just cautioning. Things must change. Labour government, we need election. We shall come back to power. Some of us will come back and will be very useful. You will need us. Be careful. Watch the space. Don't underrate people. It's up to you. I want to thank friends who have helped us on this journey, 2022. All the friends, I have my friends here. Some I cannot mention on this television now. But some, you people, you know yourselves. You know yourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for helping Dr. Matsanga. Thank you very much for standing there for me. But there are people who are never grateful on this continent of Africa. But one day, again, one day, they will need me. There are people who are never grateful on the continent of Africa. When you get this clip, look at yourself. Am I the one he's speaking about? Am I the one? It is up to you. But back to the story, the conservatives have failed to run this country called United Kingdom. Time has come for people to have an election for voters like us who have a voter's card registered since 1987 to vote. And we vote out the Conservative Party, which has brought us recycled men who have no vision except to create more difficulties, except to harass immigrants, except to take away the rights of the people. Well, you have never seen me address a rally, talk about PLO Lumumba English. This is the real guy on the street who grew up on the street. I don't want to talk English to mimic as if I'm an Englishman. I talk my Ugandan accent so that people can know that I came to learn English as a second language. But I'm telling you that Africa today stands at a crossroads because of the people that we selected in African Union. I want to declare my interest in the post of African Union chairperson. And I want to ask President Museveni of Uganda to support me on this journey. We need to change the African Union. I've reached an age where I must pass the wisdom to change Africa, not to be underrated and loathed by people whom you help every time. I need to change African Union. I want to ask Kenya, I want to ask every country in East Africa to support me. I will put my candidature. I will put my educational credentials. I will put my certificates that I got from the United Kingdom, well-recognized university, if that is what I want. I'll put why I need African Union to change. Why is African Union still the same, telling our presidents to go to Russia, and another time tell them go to Ukraine, another time tell them go to France, another time you tell them to go to United States of America? Why can't we tell them to come to Africa, Addis Ababa, the way Kenyatta and Obasanjo have scored my score this year? Congratulations to former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, comrade, Pan-African friend of mine. Thank you very much. When I see you up there, Your Excellency, I feel happy. I feel happy that I defended the right man in 2010. I'm happy. When I see His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto up there, I feel happy. Today, look at me. I have nothing. I have nothing. But at that time, the help, I didn't have anything. I was sleeping in a bed and breakfast in Kenya, in Nairobi. But I stood firm and said, no. Some of these cases that I brought on the African presidents and the leaders are fake. The word F-A-K-E, fake cases. I didn't know whether tomorrow they would become presidents. I'm proud as this year ends, I've made 2 presidents on African continent. Give me a credit. One, Uhuru Kenyatta is doing very well. He never disappointed anybody. He's doing an African job that Matsanga loves. If he needs any help, if he consults me, I write the paper, because I can write even when the eyes are closed. On conflict resolution, Elif Ziwanda, you know me very well. I'm a very good writer. You're also a writer. We all write. My English is well structured. I want to say thank you very much to God for helping me to have the wisdom, the know-how, the oversight, the sight, the seeing, for like a giraffe. I predicted that the cases of ICC were fake, and they were killing they were taking wrong people, fake evidence, not because people did not die. People died in Kenya, but the way the investigations were done in Kenya is what Matsanga stood firm and opposed. I am proud. I am not begging anything. But I want you to know in yourselves, wherever you are seated in Kenya, in Africa, remember, I was the only lone ranger on your side. Apart from your family and myself, at that time, nobody wanted you to be alive. So when you are eating this cake, eat slowly. And remember the journey we have gone through. I'm not seeking half of it. And the people of Zimbabwe, talking about on the Kenya. Emerson, when you eat this cake, I know you're on holiday, and this clip will reach you. Brother, you remember you are the one who introduced me to His Excellency Dr. Dr. Robert the late Mugabe. You took me to him and asked me to defend Zimbabwe from the land process. You remember very well, as Speaker of National Assembly, I arrived in Zimbabwe. I was the first African to defy the British establishment on the question of Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, as this year comes to an end, President Emerson Mnangagwa, remember, and this is a record in the Scotland Yard, of United Kingdom, which does not lie, that I was put under protection of the Scotland Yard for 5 years because some people wanted to kill me because of my defense for and talking for Robert Mugabe and Zimbabwe. The record is very clear. It is there. You can go and Google it because the things in Britain don't get lost. They are kept. They will tell you the gadgets that they gave me and my family and my daughter, my wife. My wife, 3 of us were given gadgets that when you hear a knock on the door, you press the gadgets. These were not Matsanga's gadgets because some people wanted to eliminate us or eliminate me and my family because of my defense for the country called Zimbabwe. And when I see some masqueraders, people masquerading as people who have worked so hard and they don't see the direction, the Labour Party is going to come back to power. Call for election, Mr. Sunak. We shall defeat you hands down. And the country of Britain will return to the original hard workers, employees, employers who work hard but get disappointed. The whole country is on standstill. Nurses are on strike. Ambulances are on strike. It's only the police. Everything is gone. Medical services are paralyzed. Call the elections, Mr. Sunak. And perhaps this time I'll go back and contest for Croydon Central constituency. And perhaps I might win. Who knows? I am a member of the Labour Party. I'll be screened by the Labour Party and I will stand in that country and win a seat. My vision for 2023 looks like it is shaped. So thank you very much. This is the Pele. It came out of the Pele discussion. I want to thank you, all of you, for having listened. And when listening, it is very important that we understand we must obtain peace. The United Nations Secretary General has just sent me a message and which has clicked because we all we are friends on Twitter, and at times we exchange a lot of notes because we know each other from the conflict of South of Sudan. During the IRA conflict, he was in Sudan. He understands some of the difficulties. He says 2023 should be a year of peace. We should make peace. We should get out of conflicts such that Africa can rise and shine again. Thank you very much, Wanda. Without going any further, I think I've set up my program very clear. And I want to tell people of Zimbabwe that I have done my best. And I will not shy away from telling you the truth that you have done so well today as people of Zimbabwe. And President Mnangagwa, you've done very well. And let's see the litmus test of 2023 of an election where ZANU-PF will win, but must win to do what? To govern, win to accommodate people, accommodate others with ideas that can build a nation. The democracy that we have today is showing that democracy of a winner takes all does not build an African country at all. Because we have not yet reached a stage of competition. We are still in the stage of jealousy. No tolerance. until we reach a stage of tolerance is when Africa can talk of competitive politics. But at the moment, Africa cannot. You cannot tell me, Dr. Matsanga, that Africa has started politics to the last iota on planet Earth. Show me where Africa can compete without hatred, where Africa can compete without people being beaten, where Africa can compete without others going to the streets, where Africa can compete without labeling a leader this, that. Show me. Isn't it the time for Africa to sit back like China sat back 40 years ago and said, what do we do? We have been here, we are growing a population. The population of China is growing on a daily basis. But what do we do here? Do we still sit and watch? Or we begin thinking about a China of tomorrow? 40 years ago, China fought like that. It came back, bounced back. Today, China is a superpower, spreading as pandemic every day. It has now again released their planes. African leaders don't learn. The planes of China brought us the disease on the continent. European countries are restricting. Some of the European countries have started restriction. America started restriction. And for us in Africa, we are still allowing our people to go into China, return with these big planes to come to our continent. Again, bring the disease mixed with us. Population of people who died in China and the population of the people who died in Africa or Britain or every place, you will see the serious difference. So why should it again, you allow the planes of China to land again? Ministries of health on African continent should run quickly. Any plane coming through China, the person must be tested, not there, not certificate, must be tested on the ground at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. If he goes through, fine. If the test comes by evening, you allow him. If not, he goes back to China with his disease. We are having a problem and we are watching it happen again. I'm telling you, it is going to be there. It is coming. If you think it is very far, it is coming. So thank you very much. I've spoken for almost 45 minutes. I want to give Ellipse a chance to speak. What is your first question? Your first question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My first mission will be based on Dr. Masanga himself. But from where I sit and from what I see, 2023 is more likely to be a year that you'll do probably things that you have even never imagined. I'm seeing from my own vision, from my own analysis and understanding, we might have some quarters in Africa that will want to work with you. And I'm almost convinced that you might not even, because Africa might want you back home to do 1 or 2, 3 things. I'll be keen to make a follow-up on this, because from where I sit, I'm convinced, very convinced, that some quarters in Africa that probably you have never even imagined that you'll work with are more likely going to seek your to invite you, to bring you close to them so that you finally, or we finally get work. And my analysis is based on the fact that African politics are changing. The hard stance are changing. The tough persons are finally softening their hearts And persons are coming to a realization that we can grow, we can build each other without fighting each other. Therefore, on that ground, I'll not be surprised to see quite a different path that Dr. Masanga are likely to take. I'll write it somewhere so that I'll remind Dr. Masanga and tell him, Doctor, I told you this thing is coming. The other thing, indeed, as you start with the submission or of these two persons, we have lost two great persons. At times, Catherine Kasavoli brought me back to KBC. I never used to watch KBC again, but she was a kind of a person that one can define as a pure-heartedly person. She was a queen of the TV. Therefore, other ladies on the television probably should go back, watch Catherine Kasavoli's previous shows. Some of our ladies in the TV that lose themselves, then do things that are not okay. Therefore, as we mourn Catherine Kasavoli, I wish that some ladies on the TV takes up the challenge, then struggle to put their feet in the shoes of Catherine Kasavoli. To Pele, I'll only look at Pele and compare him to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali and Pele were true sons of Africa, the true sons that represented Africa. Therefore, we have lost a true son, one that was celebrated. Even those that hated him ended up celebrating him, and they are mourning him today. Therefore, we have lost a legend. Now, back to the show, on a topic that Dr. Masanga has asked that we talk about, the hits and the misses. I still go back to the African Union and look at it as a major miss that we can, that the stage is now set to make it a hit come 2023. That based on the regional leadership of the AU, the East Africans are the ones that are supposed now to produce the next leader of AU come early 2023. Dr. Masanga is now coming from the same region, East Africa. Therefore, I feel like the stage is now set. One, we have had a miss by completely having the politicians or the political leaders get into that stage to lead. Therefore, it is a hit in the sense that we make it correct and get a true Pan-African to lead AU, to lead the vision, mission, and all the objectives of AU. Then we make it a hit because we get it right come 2023 in the sense that the stage is now set. Then chances are so high, we are more likely to realize peace in Africa. Because we'll now be having a Pan-African on the table, a Pan-African on the throne, that we can ask, hey, you have always been, you have always chanted and fronted the ideas of Africa, the ideas of wanting to see a united Africa, a peaceful Africa, an Africa that knows how to negotiate outside there, an Africa that protects what is hers and use what it is that belongs to her to grow. And then probably it will be easy now to point a finger and ask the big boss on the seat, why are you doing it differently? Therefore, I feel like the stage is set to make things work in the sense that the region is the one that is supposed to produce the next person. And therefore, it's easy to bring the heads as a region together, to bring those heads together, then tell the leadership, the ones that, they tell every person at the AU now, because it's our time to give out the leader, we are not giving you the presidents, but we are giving you this name. we want these guys to concentrate in building the nations, then we are giving you this person because it is our time to give you a person. So let us work with this one. Therefore, I feel like yes, we have had misses in the leadership of AU, but the stage is set 23. The other hits that you have always talked about, and I'm always happy to talk about them, is this beautiful story of Somalia. I will keep talking about it because I think
let's go slowly on that. Now, let me just come back to the program itself. Somalia is number 3.
Okay, sir.
Number 1 question, the tough questions. I'm now giving you Democratic Republic of Congo conflict and the peace process. You are aware that the Democratic Republic of Congo has been in turmoil since 1961. It is the longest running conflict that we have on the African continent. It has killed so many people. It has created so many divisions. Its people have remained poor. Accusations have been labeled against other countries. Congo accuses Rwanda of supporting rebels. Rwanda accuses Congo of supporting rebels of FDLR, Interahamwe, who are killing their people. Now, the question is, and the tough question is here, is Congo too huge to be administered from Kinshasa? And is it time to rearrange Congo as a country to make it governable? There you are. Is Congo too huge? Because we have Yugoslavia that was causing us the same problem. Anyways, we cleared Yugoslavia. We have Kosovo, Croatia, Serbia, Macedonia, Bosnia. They all came out of the former Yugoslavia. They are now states on their own. They can fight each other if they want. But it was very difficult to administer these units in Europe until a war broke out. Are we waiting for Congo to create us a big war? Then we do something. What do you think is the best way? These are tough questions that I always bring on my program. And if you have the answers, whether you are listening to us or you will listen to us, write back on our chat. We shall read your answers. Is Congo too big to be administered from one center point of Kinshasa? Is it time to rearrange the Democratic Republic of Congo? Elvis.
Thank you so much. Congo problems are scattered. And Congo as a country, when you look at the challenges that Congo is facing, and look at the positioning of Kinshasa, then you put it on a comparison with what happened in Yugoslavia. They're like identical twins here. Yugoslavia had the similar challenges. The ethnicity that made people fight, the ethnicity that made people hate each other. And the only way Yugoslavia could have been made peaceful is by rearranging Yugoslavia so that you belong to this ethnic group, or you belong to this ideological understanding or arrangement. then you will move to this side, then you belong to this kind of thinking, you go to the other side. Therefore, you look at how similar the case is with the big question of ethnicity, and the big question of ethnicity as well being in DRC Congo, with people fighting each other at times in the lines of the ethnicity. Then we already have a case study of Yugoslavia, the case study of two countries with that had similar challenges, and they already had a way out on how they handled the challenges. Therefore, I feel like it is very true that the challenges that DRC Congo is facing today are too similar to the challenges that Yugoslavia was facing, with a big one here being ethnicity. And the only way the region, the country was able to be, the conflict was settled, then the region now grew. That you forget about the imaginary lines that will call the political boundaries that will define Bosnia, that will define Croatia, Romania, and those others. That those are just imaginary lines. The key thing here is let the region grow. And therefore, as you're putting it, rearrangement is the option. Good. I can see Dr. Masanga asking me to make it, to keep telling more and more. Now, it is very true that when you look at the DRC Congo and you try and buy the ideas of Einstein tells us that it is madness if you keep doing something repeatedly that keeps giving you a fake answer, that keeps giving you an answer that you don't want. But you keep you still stick on the same line. You keep doing it again and again. That Einstein tells you that you will be mad expecting different results. And therefore, as a region, Einstein is telling us what we are doing and having an imagination that DRC Congo will finally be at peace is equal to being mad. Probably the words are too harsh, but those are the words that Einstein used probably to make the points sink so well that someone fears being equated to be to a mad person, then struggle to change things and find the best answers. And therefore, as a region, we need now to look at the DRC Congo. As leaders, it's time that DRC Congo is looked at keenly, then come to senses that probably we are doing the repeated things repeatedly, and the results may not be what we are looking for. And therefore, it's important that we change the procedures. When the doctor administers a certain drug on you or medicine on you, then your body has developed measures of resisting. Then it means the doctor will have a different kind of medicine that will put on you, or that will be subjected on you. Therefore, in this case, a different subscription or a different medicine are now required here, so that this country heals, so that the disease is cleared. Therefore, rearrangement could be the option based on the case study of Yugoslavia that faced similar challenges. Dr. Masanga. Thank you. Today I'm having some good airtime. I think the doctor loves what I'm trying to put here on. To some senses that I'm trying to communicate your past here. Now, I want us to imagine this: if Yugoslavia was never rearranged, could we be having these beautiful nations, beautiful, peaceful persons doing great things that they are doing today? For the lovers of football, I know we love enjoying some beautiful soccer that is played by Croatia, looking at the likes of Luka Modric playing, looking at person like Pulisic, getting into the Montenegro, then looking at Serbia, looking at persons like Matic and others playing some good football. And all this was only realized because a new style was adopted, rearrangement of the nation. Before then, all these things were not being witnessed. People's mind were all set into fighting each other. Brothers fighting each other. People fighting each other just because they don't speak the same language, ethnicity. Now go back to DRC Congo. M23 will at times complain and say we are being targeted because we are Tutsis, majority of us are Tutsis. The others will complain and say we are being targeted because we are Hutus. And these are not the only two communities. I'm only using them as a case study because we have more than about 100 or 400 communities in DRC Congo. But I've only picked these two, and I'm telling you that the country, DRC Congo. And therefore, I want us to imagine this, that people are fighting based on the tribal line. The great minds are now thinking about how to develop weapons, how to learn the art of fighting, and not how to grow as a people, how to grow as a nation, how to grow as a region. If I'm told the country is too big, the problems are too huge, they're too much for a leader to stay in Kinshasa and offer solutions to them, then there are only one option that can be approached here, that we either subdivide this nation, and in the subdivision, we either have a central government at Kinshasa, or then we have some different states or subsections that are independent, doing their own things, only that they are guided and helped by a central mother government. Or we don't go that line and just go the Yugoslavia way, create different countries within Congo. If that is an option, so be it, because the beauty here is the country be at peace, people be at peace, we stop losing lives, we protect what belongs to the people, then what belongs to the people be used to make the people happy. Instead of seeing people die, then what belongs to them don't help them. And in this case, we are at times end up now inviting people from outside now to siphon and benefit from what is there. Therefore, the beauty here is rearrange the nation. We have a blueprint that we can read. And the region and the countries are doing well in Yugoslavia. I don't see why we should not go the Yugoslavia way and finally realize peace in DRC Congo, and finally have the sons, the daughters of DRC Congo moving around happily, being able to walk in their beautiful Congo forest at peace, knowing that there is nobody inside there that will manhunt and kill me. That is the Congo that we want. Dr. Masango.
My friend PLO Lumumba said something that has touched me, and I've sent it to Stephen to screen it for us so that we can look at that and ask the same. This is the same thing. Wonder, that's what I've been saying. I gave you time to finish up. Are we not having a second scramble for Africa? You want to make DRC Congo not workable, continue to have conflict. But who is putting the conflict in DRC Congo? As you close the conflict in Eastern Congo, you open the southern bypass in Zambia, where America goes to sign contracts with Zambian government to take over supply chains for the diamonds, copper, and cobalt. Are you not opening a very serious situation? Are you not? What Africa is this that we want? The Africa we want is, what can we do with DRC Congo? Do we rearrange it? As explained, Croatia was playing football, but if it had been under Yugoslavian team, perhaps there could be no players known from Croatia, because it would be too huge for even the competitive, well-good scorer could not be known in Belgrade. The headquarters was in Belgrade. Isn't it time for us to rearrange Congo? I leave it to the viewers as the year ends. Think about that. Either you get the peace in Congo or rearrange Congo. That's my opinion. PLO Lumumba talks about, as soon as a head of state in Africa goes to power, there are guys in the West who always visit, who run with their briefcases. The first group is Tony Blair. He was a leader of my party who heaped sanctions on Zimbabwe. I warned Tony Blair never to hit sanctions on Zimbabwe. I begged them. I cried tears for the sake of those Zimbabweans. Mnangagwa and his friend Constant Chiwenga, listen to my speech, you people. Constant Chiwenga, I've been a friend and I'm a friend. Emerson, I've been a friend for 22 years. Mugabe has gone. I stood firm to fight for the people of Zimbabwe. But time has come for us to consolidate that fight, to make a better Zimbabwe for everybody to live in. Time has come not to forget what we did, what other people did, like Tony Blair coming to your place. Oh, he's doing a contract in Rwanda, give him another one here. No, 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 no. Wait, ask Matanga what I went through. You have never compensated me for having gone through the pain, the suffering that I suffered in defense of Zimbabwe. It is sad, therefore, for anybody to come here and talk what he doesn't know. If you're a kid, keep off. And if you're a kid, just go back and sleep and learn. Some of us have gone through the thick that you cannot go through. So you don't just speak your bundles and start insulting some of us. For a man like me to stand against an international organization called International Criminal Court and win and a battle, I must be a man with extra legs. So don't just undermine me, underrate me. I'm telling you, be careful, Africa. We have a problem. Can we hear that thing of PLO Lumumba? Are you ready? Studio in Nairobi.
In which kind of country will you want your children to be? This is the question. It is not about you and me. It is about them. This is intergenerational. After we have elected them, you'll then see them sending their arrows ahead. You'll see Bill Gates come and meet your president. You'll see Tony Blair come and meet your president. You'll see Macron come and meet your president. You'll see all of them. And then they will never admit, but they'll be told, if you want money in agriculture, behave this way. If you want money in this area, behave this way. They will never tell that to the Chinese. They will never tell that to the Indians. They will never tell that to the Vietnamese. They will never tell that to the Koreans. But in Africa, they tell us. That is why, as I speak to you now, under this new scramble, the IMF and the World Bank are back, telling you who to hire in your universities, what to sell and what not to sell. It is a sad situation. So today, as I look at Africa in that new scramble, the Chinese are here, the Turks are here, the British are here, the French are here, the Qataris are here, the Americans are here. This time round, they are so subtle that we don't even recognize them, but they control us. What are we going to do about it? In order to develop, we must do something. It has also been demonstrated that it can be done. I've traveled across this continent and I've seen that development is possible. You go to Rwanda now. They are demonstrating that it can be done. Go to Kigali now. See what they are doing in the health sector in their own small way. See how they are collaborating in the area of mobile telephony in their own small way. It can be done. I've been to Botswana and I've seen what they are doing in their own small way. I've been to Mauritius, see what they are doing in their own small way. And they do not have the resources that other countries have. And I'm giving these examples to say that indeed it can be done, and it can be done within the continent of Africa. So what we must do is to begin to pull together. We have 55 telephone access codes. Nigeria 234, Ghana 233, Kenya 254, Tanzania 255, Uganda 256, Zambia 260, Zimbabwe 263. How can we, in this day and age, you cross into Benin, you cross into Togo, you cross into Guinea-Bissau, you have a different internet connectivity. Why can't Africa have a single satellite and a single telephone call so that when I travel from Mogadishu in Somalia to Dhaka in Senegal, like the Chinese do, like the Americans do, like the Indians do, we can have the same, because communication is critical to development. And I'm saying this, part of my agenda is to prick your conscience with live examples, that you may go out there irritated, but irritated to do the right thing. And I'm suggesting that indeed, when we talk about development, this is what we must do. Is Africa conscious of our state? Yes, Africa is conscious. This is what makes me happy. That after all these analysis, it appears to me that Africans have now recognized that going forward, we can only defeat the conspiracies, we can only have development as we are talking about it by working as a team. It is only through industrialization that we are going to be manufacturers in all sectors. Make unity attractive. Because if you don't make it attractive, we will separate, and that will make us weaker. You are here, maximum 40 years, you will have gone upstairs. But after 40 years, in which kind of country will you want your children to be? This is the question. It is not about you and me. It is about them. This is intergenerational. Africa must change. Africa can change. And it can only change if we change our minds. And our minds we must change.
Us back into the African Union. That you listen to PLO Lumumba submitting, or you listen to him speaking, then it talks of an Africa that is capable, but an African that is missing out on doing things the right way. Now, listen to PLO Lumumba talk about the internet connectivity, that we are one people, one continent. But today, when you walk out from Kenya, then you go to Tanzania, the network is different. You are not connected anymore. You have to find ways of connecting, getting connected again. And it's only an imaginary boundary that is created that you have crossed. Not that there is something that you have even crossed, an imagination that have crossed and gotten into a different country. And you look at the kind of leadership, how we pick leaders at AU, then you imagine that the style that you are using to pick leaders is missing out on such Pan-African minds like PLO Lumumba, Pan-African minds like Dr. Masanga, persons that are now looking at it and trying to figure out how do we offer solutions, not at a national level, but at a continent level. But I like in his submission when he looks at it and analyzes and tells us that finally Africans are waking up. There are times the problem is only when you don't know what is eating you. But when you know what is eating you up, what is eating you down, then it means you are halfway solving your problems. If so many persons can sit down and listen to PLO Lumumba speak and nod their heads in acknowledgement that indeed what you're saying, what you're telling us is true, these are facts, and these are the things that we need now to start doing, then it is a realization of the continent that time has come. It is time that we do things the right way. It is time that we get, we put our legs on, our feet on the ground, then start moving. I think, let me not even get into so much details about it. Let me introduce a different question here, the Somalia question. In 1992, we had the arms embargo on Somalia. Somalia was restricted on purchasing arms and equipping herself to be able to deal with the militia groups, with an imagination that the arms embargo will make it easy for the country to deal with the militia groups, the community groups that were having arms, then using it to cause insecurity. I don't know if this arms embargo had, that was the real intention, or I don't know if we had a different intention that was not communicated when the arms embargo was put on Somalia in 1992. And it's equally important to note this because I know the generation that is born today and probably the generation that has not read history or looked into the history of one country to the other, and in this case, look into the history of Somalia, probably they have never known that in 1967, Somalia became the first African nation to organize peaceful democratic elections where the sitting president, who was their first president, was unseated, was defeated by who was his own prime minister. Then the president did not hold on the leadership, did not feel like this is mine, you have taken my leadership. Instead, the president was like, it's okay, let me hand over power peacefully so that we keep building the nation, so that we keep growing as a people. So Somalia became the very first African nation to organize peaceful elections and have peaceful power transition from one person to the other person. And it was not a case of the leader going to retirement, blood now competing among themselves, then one blood winning. It was a case of the sitting president wanted to continue leading, but he was defeated in the elections and felt like, let me hand over the battle. Let me get this baton to the next person so that we keep building the nation. The new generation that probably knows of the fighting Somalia, the generation that was born in 1992 going forward, probably only knows of the Somalia that has been fighting, Somalia that is defined with Al-Shabaab and so many negativities. Now, there is new hope that we are finally having in Somalia. that you have been having different governments in Somalia that have not been able to deal with with conflict in Somalia, that have been terrorized left, right, to the center by Al-Shabaab. But today, when you look at what is happening in Somalia, it's like finally the Somalians have reached the end of the tunnel and there is light. Commonly, there is light at the end of the tunnel. So these guys are now finally getting to the end of the tunnel, and finally there's some light. There are some specks of light that are reflecting and shining on their sides, on their way as they get to finally to the end of it. That the civilians have decided to join the military, to help the military identify and flush out the Al-Shabaab. The regions that were perceived the no-go zones, the regions that were being controlled by the Al-Shabaab, doing everything, the Al-Shabaab are not there today. They have been flushed out. And it's going round and round sections of the country. I think this is one of the greatest hits that we have had in the country. I know you have had the issues to do with, we have had the conflict, the Ethiopian government and the Tigrayan people. The Tigrayan people land forces fighting each other. That was a conflict that you have had in about 2-3 years. But in this case, when you talk about Somalia, we are talking about a conflict that has existed from 1992. Up to today, we are now feeling like, or we are having now a hope that finally this conflict is coming to an end. You can imagine 1992. Today we are in 2022. So those are about 30 years. 30 years of people fighting. 30 years of terrorizing the country. 30 years of making sure the government is not working. Then finally, the hope is there. Probably this is another Mandela, the other Mandela making in Somalia. That Mandela was in prison for 27 years, close to 30. 27 years, round off to the nearest, that is 30 years. Somalia have been having this conflict from 1992. Look at the period, that is also 30 years. Then we declared Nelson Mandela, Tata, as our hero, the African hero, who brought liberation from the 1948 apartheid that was terrorizing the black person in South Africa. That you look at the periods, then you'll feel like 30 years is a blessed year. A number close to 30 years, in this case, fighting and conflict, could be a blessed year. That indeed, chances are so high that Somalia is finally being peaceful. That finally we'll start telling the beautiful stories of Somalia. That finally we'll now get to our feet, pack our bags, get to Somalia and build this beautiful nation. Join forces with the Somalians and create a different story. There is nothing beautiful than now seeing a changed Africa. An Africa that is writing a different story. I know when you read the Chimamanda's Ngozi story, The Dangers of a Single Story, she talks about a defined Africa in the negativities, with the negativities. And therefore, I'm seeing a speck of hope, some specks of light, some new beginning in Africa. An Africa now that has decided enough is enough. Let us define a new path. Let us forget about the story that people decided to paint with us. Let us deal with insecurities. Let us be peaceful as a persons. Let us grow ourselves. Therefore, the flashing out of the Al-Shabaab, it is one of the greatest hits that you have had as the Great Lakes region, as the Horn of Africa. as the entire Africa, because peace in Somalia means peace in Africa, means prosperity in the Great Lakes region, prosperity in the Horn of Africa, and prosperity of the entire continent. Dr. Masanga.
Mr. Wanda, it looks like today you got a whole airtime. Come upstairs. It looks like get upstairs. It looks like you got a whole time today.
The gods have decided to bless me today as the year ends. But indeed,
yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Wanda, for.
Yeah. Dr. Masanga,
I am not the only one who is crying about Africa, who is talking about a better Africa. We are very many of us, hundreds and hundreds of us, talking the same thing throughout. The Africa that we want, the Africa that must be an Africa that is recognized, the Africa that must give solutions. Look at what PLO Lumumba was telling us. He was telling us exactly that when you get to power, these guys come should do and not do. But they don't go to India and tell what India should do. The next episode, which I think you have not talked about, is Tigray. The conflict, the tough question, therefore, and today this will be our last question because time seems to be against us, and I have wasted a lot of time with other uncoordinated activities that arrived on the scene. After the gruesome war in Ethiopia and the most barbaric civil strife that we have ever seen on the continent of Africa, in Ethiopian history, the dust seemed to have settled in Ethiopia. The Ethiopia and the Tigray crisis, of which most of us have stood firm against, seem to be coming to an end. The question, therefore, is, in as much as the war seems to have waned out and fizzled out, has Ethiopia learned any new lessons from the conflict? Is it solved? Is it a solved conflict or a conflict in hibernation? Wanda, is it a solved conflict or a conflict in hibernation? I give credit to President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta for resolving the conflict. The sharp one, the guns are silent. But can Ethiopia pick from here, rearrange the country, rearrange all the regions of Oromo, Amhara, and other regions that have grievances? Is this a conflict in hibernation? If it is in a conflict in hibernation, therefore, this is the time to resolve it. What is your comment?
In fact, this one, as I comment on it, this one that will go in the books of history is a bit funny. The conflict started on 3rd November 2020, 3rd November. Then the conflict ended still on 3rd November 2022. I don't know, it's such funny that 3rd November it starts, 3rd November it ends. Now, conflicts in Ethiopia, we are celebrating the progress today. But we need to be very careful and be very sincere with ourselves. We have these two groups that we should that we should not ignore. We should not ignore them. they could, because chances are they still can find a way out, then feel like we were never settled, then they fight. One, we have the Amhara region and people that are having questions still. In this case, we are talking about Ethiopia. We are having the Oromia or the Oromo. We could be talking about Tigray and celebrate so much on the achievements and the success you've had in Tigray. Then forget about Amhara, forget about Oromo or the Oromia region. Then it becomes like it was simply an hibernation then, or it was a bomb that is still ticking. Then it exploded at some point. But therefore, as you're asking or as you're putting it, I feel like it's very important that President Obasanjo and President Uhuru should not ignore the fact that we're still having some the Amhara and the Oromo. Then they completely ensure that everything is settled. Because number one, Ethiopians have shown that they want to be peaceful. It was so beautiful seeing these two brothers that were fighting, shaking hands, then leaving to the terms of the peace talks. To me, that was a sign of people who were tired and they wanted that peace. But because we left someone behind, the Amhara and the Oromia, remember, Tigray had joined forces with the Oromia, but we only picked Tigray because it was the most sensitive one. Therefore, let us not forget these two groups, because we could be celebrating when others are hurting. It's like we are laughing at someone's hurting. In this case, this someone who is hurting and we are celebrating might find a way of fighting. Then we get back to square zero. Therefore, let us celebrate the achievements that you have had. But let us not forget that we left out two groups that are still crying. Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much. As the conflict in Ethiopia comes to a close, there are so many questions. And we thank President Kenyatta and the former President Kenyatta and the former President Obasanjo, plus the South African Deputy President, for what they have done for this continent of Africa, to end this conflict and to give us a smile at the end of the year. But we look at this conflict as an example, as PLO Lumumba has just said in the clip that I've just played. Why is it that as soon as a president in Africa takes power, these guys run in, but they don't help us? Look at the conflicts in Tigray. They stood on the other side, and they never wanted the people of Ethiopia to be united. So for me, the tough question that I ask is, and still needs answers, have those conflicts ended or hibernated? The answer remains, as long as the entire Ethiopia remains fragile, we need to look forward and take one step and call an all-Ethiopian conference that can bring all Ethiopian warring parties on table so that they can set their problems, finish them once for all. Thank you. Perhaps, Wanda, that could be our last topic this year. And we shall see each other on the other end on Monday or Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday.
Okay.
Most likely. For now, I just want to say we have 6 minutes. I don't know whether we can do the next one because you seem to, your has been utilized properly. And military coups in Africa. The question is, this year has seen 2 takeovers in Burkina Faso as well as a failed attempted coup in Guinea-Bissau and Gambia, which we saw a few days ago. Across Africa, there is a dire concern about the resurgence of unconstitutional changes of government. The question, what is Africa leadership doing to counter these military takeovers that are sweeping across the continent? Have we established the root causes of these coups? Those are tough questions for you. Have you? Tell me one root cause of this coup. What are the coups? Is it corruption? Is it? Before you go further, I can summarize for you, give you a glimpse. Money, power, and revenge. If you don't see among the 3 items, if you don't see the main causes of the coups, some officers come for revenge, some want power, some want money. So it depends on country to country, which one, where you place which, and who can be placed where. That is how things are. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, I'll pick the revenge first, then use the revenge with the South African case study, which is conflict, then use it to score a mark on the Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, and Gambia. When you look at Malema speaking, he speaks as a very charged person, as a person who is angry, as a person who wants to revenge of what will probably, according to him, what he might probably perceive as the failures of the previous leadership. There was a clip that he was submitting, I think, in a court somewhere. Then he could clearly tell the jury, or he could tell the advocate, I will one day become the president of this nation. I will take charge of you and the entire nation. Therefore, you look at, that is just an example of a case study. This is a charged person who feels like the leadership has not done justice to him and some other quarters. And if he gets into power, he'll want to make things the right way. And in this case, it means that is a revenge. I look at Ramaphosa and I look at Zuma. The conflict that you have had, the farm conflict, it was more of the Zuma team versus the Ramaphosa team. That is revenge. Now, when I get back to the Sahel now, you look into the Burkina Faso now, you talk about the Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, and other nations that are experiencing these coups. Whenever a government gets into power, in the African setting, as you had started with your submission when the TV show started today, you said Africa is not ready for competitive elections, for competitive politics. Any other time the opposition loses in Africa, they pick a fight, they consider the government as their enemy. And the government will consider the opposition as the enemy. not as a team that wanted to offer alternative political solution, but instead they are perceived as enemies who wanted to unseat us and probably either grow the nation or grow themselves. Now, and therefore, the challenges, when you look at the revenge, it becomes now very easy for the Western world to spot out these two conflicting groups that want to revenge on each other. Then sponsor one group, sponsor it with in the military line, then stage a coup. And therefore, it is a case of revenge from our own people, and from this revenge that grows into enmity, into hatred, that the Western world normally looks at it, picks one side, sponsor the one side, then organize a coup. If revenge was not there, then we could not be having these coups. Number two, the revenge comes in because someone wants power. Someone feels like when I'm seated on that seat, I'm the one whose voice should be heard. I'm the one who, when I cuff others, should get their tails between their legs and sit down and listen to what I want to say. And therefore, the revenge is because there is an interest. There is this a serious appetite to control power, to own power. Then the money question, it's not so much on Africa as Africans. Africans just love power, and that power. I'm the one who is the president. I'm the one who is on the top seat. That you even go into the respective organizations, you realize that there are those group of our own people who cares less about the pay, but they care so much that I'm the one who is seated on the throne. I'm the one who is doing A, doing B, then these others will just take, will implement what I've said. Therefore, money is never a big problem of an African, but power is, revenge is, and it's the serious disease that is affecting us. Money comes in from the Western world. The Western world wants to make money from Africa. And because they want to make money from Africa, they have spotted the riches of Africa, the natural riches, the resources. They now organize this coup so that they plant their own people, then siphon the resources that will now be the money after they have been subjected to industrialization and all those things. And therefore, the money question comes from the West. They perceive Africa as a money-making continent. But how do we get this money? Pick the team that want to revenge, that wants power. Sponsor this team. Put the mindset of a coup in them. Make them see how successful this coup will become. Sponsor it. Let them organize it. Then walk behind and get this money in form of natural riches. Dr. Masanga. Dr. Masanga?
Yes, thank you very much, my brother. I think time has come for us to realize that Africa needs us and that we need Africa. There are things in the African continent that we need to look at, observe, watch, and perhaps change. As Elvis Wanda has said, many things in Africa need attention. Our attention, therefore, is drawn to military coups that have come and still continue coming from different parts of the African continent. And you never know why. Because of revenge, money, and power. Some of the military officers just come back. They want to fight. Some of them are not happy with their governments. The state of governance in Africa seems to have fallen to pieces. What can we do as Africans to change and stop the recurrence of military regimes back on our continent? That's the tough question I leave with you at 2022 today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. My panel, next year we shall be you and me on this Straight Talk Africa, of which I will make sure that tough questions are answered between me and you so that the other programs can continue. But I will tell you what we want to do next year is going to shock the industry. And thank you very much. I talk to you perhaps on Tuesday, because so many technicalities are here. There are so many things that I'm waiting to happen. I thank you very much. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Masanga. I wish you God's blessings. I wish our viewers and every person God's blessings and a very successful 2023. It's my prayer that as a continent, as a people, we will keep winning these battles. I wish you success in your journey of AU. I pray that God makes it a success and a reality. Be blessed.
Thank you. You seem to be focused that I take up the AU post.
Yeah, very, because that is the solution. That's the very solution that we, that as a continent, if we pick that line, then we win it.
Sawa, we are on it.
Yes.
Yes.
Sawa, sawa.
Thank you.
Thank you.